Maybe it's just not a good time for you. Maybe you're having hard times. Anybody can be with you when you're doing well, but they're also with you when you're not doing well. And that's when you realize how important it is to build a culture. I've had some opposing attorneys that are probably some of the most shadiest, unethical people I have ever met in my life. The only thing that protects them is that they are agents of the court. So here's some of the reasons why I learned building a lead machine is absolutely paramount. Now I know every business needs leads and we know that, but I think sometimes we take it for granted and we wonder, like when we have low sales or maybe people aren't closing over the phone, or like if you're in a service-based business, like we're a fintech payment processing company, and you may have some like dips in your sales or the amount of business that's coming in. And we have various ways of getting leads. Some of us get leads by running ads. Some of us get leads by doing it the organic way. Some of us get leads by maybe working with influencers. Here's why you need to build a system. Like you need to really build your community. And I remember being in ClickFunnels myself and Russell Brunson's inner circle for a couple of years. And you don't really like learn a ton of new stuff in there, in my opinion. It's really about, you know, the mindset and like bigger picture type stuff and finding that one thing that moves the needle. And I remember him saying how important it is to build a cult-ure. And I see how important it is now, even with ClickFunnels. If you look at ClickFunnels right now, many of the people who spoke on the stage at ClickFunnels and promoted ClickFunnels and how good it was and how great it was, some of them have totally switched and now they're speaking on Go High Level stage. If you follow the money, you'll pretty much get to where a person's heart is most of the time. And where a man's heart is, where a man's treasure is where his heart is, something like that. So let me get back to the point. If you build your business around, let's say, working with influencers, that could be a good thing while it lasts. My experience has been is if you work with influencers, and you could be at many levels, you could be sponsoring, I mean, that's what you have to do most of the time with influencers anywhere. You have to pay them to play. And I think some of the major corporations probably are a little bit ahead of the game with this. If they pay, let's say, a celebrity to promote their company, I think what they're doing is probably contractually saying, hey, if you promote us, you cannot promote anyone else in our industry as well. They have to be doing something like that, otherwise it won't make sense. Because if you sponsor an influencer, they're kind of like a celebrity in that sense, where they go to whoever pays them. Regardless, anything, regardless to culture, regardless to ethics, regardless to community, it does not matter. Whoever has the money, that's who they go with. And so imagine you pay an influencer, let's say 50,000, 100,000, it doesn't matter what it is, it could be 10,000. You pay them and they play. And then 6 months from there, someone else comes along and says, I'll give you 20,000. They'll promote their product, and it could be a competitor. They'll promote your competitor product like that. And so you don't get a chance to build that pipeline in many cases. Maybe it's just not a good time for you. Maybe you're having hard times. Maybe your business is like going through one of those dips or something like that. And this is why what Russell Brunson said is so important is in terms of building culture. Because if you build cult, as he liked to pronounce it, ure, you have people who are dedicated to you, the die-hard fans. They're not going anywhere because they're with you when you're doing well. Anybody can be with you when you're doing well, but they're also with you when you're not doing well. And that's when you realize how important it is to build a culture. Because when you're doing well, you can get anybody on board. You can get anybody on the team. That's super easy to do. You're paying people, maybe they're making money, maybe there's a possibility of them making money, and they're fine at that moment. A split second when they're not benefiting, this is irregardless to ethics and any of that kind of stuff. People are going with the money. Hey, this is for the community. This is for this purpose. This is for this project. And you're not allowed to go outside of this contract like I mentioned earlier. There are instances like that. If you're going to be working with influencers or different groups, I would caution you to think in advance. How can you make sure that you lock a relationship in financially, since it's about money anyway at the end of the day? It's not about anything else. How can you lock it in so that when you're not doing well, you still have people pushing for you, or you have people who you can pay to continue to push for you? They won't push other entities who may have a way bigger budget than you. You may have entities that are financed by billionaires who will absolutely be able to outlast you or outspend you easily. Having a culture of people, whether it be agents, whether it be salespeople, whether it be just people who are really gung-ho about you, is extremely important. I give you another example. We work with sales agents all the time. I had a business partner who was paying agents, he set up the rates, and some of them he was paying 50%, 60%, 70%, whatever it may be. He was paying them for years. I didn't even know what their splits were. He did some stuff where he moved money around to different bank accounts, took the money from our company to help fund another company, and he reached back out to those same agents and said, hey, I'm going to pay you more money. Those agents didn't care. They just went and they actually poached a ton of business and just took it to the other company where they can make maybe 10% more. It may only be $100, but $100 per month for 12 months, or it may be $50, and that's how they're looking at it. Or he may just give them a bonus or something like that. Hey, I give you a $200 bonus for every deal you bring in, and they'll be ghosts. That's not a culture that you want to build around. Those are prostitutes, where you pay for them to play and they'll go to whomever and wherever to make money. And that's unfortunately, but that's just business. Now, I had another case where I had a staff member who I was working with, and he was supposed to be like sales oriented. He must have worked with us for about 2 years, and I could not get this particular person to bring in one other sales agent or not even one client in a 2-year period. Now, mind you, you have the internet, you got I don't know how many different social media channels where you can get on there and just make things happen without having to spend money on ads or anything like that. Like, there's so much opportunity to do that, because I've done that myself, and as busy as I am, if I could do it, anyone could do it. And it got to the point where it's like we couldn't even afford it anymore. Like, we just couldn't afford the relationship because we were losing so much freaking money and not getting anything back from it. Matter of fact, we were losing money because of all the errors and mistakes. We just couldn't afford it. So we had to depart from that relationship. And once we departed from that relationship, that same person began poaching deals that they never even brought on board. That's business. It's not ethical. There's no honor in that. You have to understand that's how people are. And so again, this is why it's so important to build your own community. So instead of just like paying to play different places, that can help to maybe get on stages somewhere else, because you got to get business, or you pay this influencer, you pay that influencer. But no, there's not going to be any loyalty there. The best thing you can do is build your own cultural community of people who they like what you're about, they like where the company's going, they like what you're doing. They know you're going through some hard times. They know you're being smashed and smacked and stumped all over the place. But they know that, hey, there's a end goal to this. And if you can get people on board like that, almost like you think about your significant other, and I'm speaking from a man's perspective, but if you find a woman who is with you not because of what you have right now. You got to bring something to the table. You got to bring potential, something to the table. And so there is some benefit for her. You're not dogging her out. You're just not totally abdicating all your responsibilities. Like, you're a good dude and you're doing at least your own level. You're not the best, but you're on level. But she knows that there's potential in you and she's going to stick with you. You can't help but to win. You just have to keep trying and not quit. You cannot help but to win. And some women will stick with you even when she knows you possibly may never win, but just because you're treating her right. You may go through some hard stuff. Baby's mama's giving you trouble. Maybe an ex is giving you trouble. The courts are raping you blind, which is what they do. And you're just totally being flipped upside down. And it's not looking good for you. It's not even looking good for her, but she still believes in you. That's a culture within the home. And you do the same thing with her. She may not have a figure 8, so to speak. She may not be there right now. Maybe she's a little pudgy. You know the brothers like them thick anyway, but she's curvy. She's good to you. She's nice. She's beautiful inside and out. I've never really honestly seen an ugly woman unless they go way out of their way to be ugly. That's just me. Right? I see the beauty in just in general. They're not good homemakers, which to me is even more important than the freaking CEO, because if your home is not in order, nothing else matters. That's like the most important investment is you and your family. And the woman, in my opinion, is the CEO of that. And if there's no future in that, it doesn't matter how beautiful she looks, because your children are going to be crazy as hell when they get older. They're going to be problematic. Sometimes the women will turn them against you. They'll just be freaking lunatics. Unless she's like that, then everything else I think can be worked out. she can always lose weight. She can always begin eating healthier. She can always become more educated. So if you're going with just looks, like, you're freaking in trouble. And I'm just trying to show that sometimes people are with you only because of what they can see at that particular moment. You don't have a cult-ure in the house. Step over into the business side. It's inevitable to bring in people in the company who are only with you for money. That's just what it is. But there has to be something bigger than just money, especially if you're working with sales agents. Many are going to come just for money. Just know that. But you have to be building a culture and a community of not just sales agents, but people in general who are really about the company. Not just about, hey, I didn't make this much or I don't make this much. They really want the company to win because they see that if the company does better, you all do better. There's a bigger movement there. And this is why I've learned now, because I've invested in many different events and things like that. And some of the events are okay, but they don't last. I kind of look at it like prostitution almost. You go and you pay for this and then it's over and that's it. There's no other connection. That relationship or that moment is over. I'd rather put my time and energy into dating, nurturing the relationship, building a base of people who really are about what I am doing. And I'm doing it for them and they know I'm doing it for them. And now I'm not looking for an immediate exponential gain. I'll give you an example. I probably spent a few $100,000 working with influencers. I can count on one hand probably one of those influencers that I can contact. And if I contact them, it probably has to be because I paid them more money. So those are transactional relationships. You know, and sometimes you have to do that because those influencers have built up audiences and this is what they're in business for. So there's no hate on them or anything like that. But just understand what you're putting your money into. Whereas if you put your money, that same few $100,000 into running ads, having events for yourself, and building your own base, you do that, you would be far better spending money on building your coaching community than you would working with influencers or anything like that. I remember FUBU, they paid LL Cool J to promote their clothes and boom, it worked out. I mean, LL Cool J is a big freaking name. I'm almost positive LL Cool J didn't go out and promote Gap right behind that. He didn't go out and promote Levi right behind that, or Gucci or Louis right behind that. I don't think he did. There has to be some stipulation in that agreement where we pay you to play, you with us, for at least a certain period of time. And so if you're going to play with these influencers, think about putting that in your paperwork. I hope this helps. I've learned, I'm sharing my lessons. I've made tons of money, lost tons of money. I'm much smarter for it as a result. Even if you go hire an attorney, once you hire that attorney, they can't now ever turn around and sue you because there's a conflict of interest. And attorneys are like hired hitmen. Many attorneys would do whatever to make money. I've had some opposing attorneys that are probably some of the most shadiest, unethical people I have ever met in my life. Like zero ethics, period. The only thing that protects them is that they are agents of the court. Other than that, you cannot trust them. But even as unethical as many attorneys can be, once you hire them, they can't now come and compete against you. And this is why if you're going to be working with influencers, you need to at least make sure that something like that is in the contract and in the paperwork. And I had never thought about that because when things are going good, they're going good and they're with you, everything is great. You don't get into relationships to have issues, but unfortunately you need to plan for issues. You don't jump into a marriage. Some people do. They jump into a marriage knowing that they're in it for money. But for us people out here who have ethics and we're somewhat decent people, we don't jump into relationships thinking that something negative or bad is going to happen. Have foresight in your relationships, especially with influencers. Plan this out. They aren't always going to be with you and your product. They don't even care about your product, to be perfectly honest with you. They're in it for the money. I'm not saying anything negative about them, but they're thinking about their bottom line, and you need to be thinking about you and your community, your clients, and your people. And it may even benefit that particular influencer to stick with you for the long haul, as opposed to just a temporary transactional relationship. Think about it. Some celebrities are now asking for a percentage in equity. I don't know if it's equity of the entire company or is it equity in terms of what they bring in. And I'm pretty sure if it's equity, it's probably like they're probably promoting consistently. This is like not something that they just start and stop. But if they know they're getting something out of it, they're not going to now compete against themselves. So think about that as well. I hope this helps you. Any questions, let me know. Anything that benefits you, let me know. I'll be sharing more lessons, and I've learned a ton of lessons from building our companies from zero to doing $1 billion in sales every single year, bootstrapped. So I think I have a lot to share that can help you not realize some of the mistakes that I made and also cover up many of the blind spots. Okay, be good.